Let me tell you, if anyone ever told me moving to a nice neighborhood meant peace and quiet, I'd laugh right in their face. You want to know what really happens when an HOA president decides you don't belong? Pull up a chair. This is the kind of story you only hear whispered over fences, and trust me, I lived every wild minute of it. It started like a bad joke. One morning, I'm yanked awake by the sound of heavy equipment grinding outside my bedroom window, and for a split second, I thought maybe the city was doing construction. Nope. I look outside, and there's a crew digging a trench right up against my yard, dirt flying everywhere, and I realize my driveway's about to be cut off from the street. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some community project. This was personal. See, when I bought my house just outside Round Rock, Texas, I thought I'd finally found a spot to settle down. A tidy brick ranch on Sandalwood Drive. Not too fancy, just enough for me and the dog. After all those years grinding away in a logistics warehouse, I pictured weekends grilling on the patio, maybe neighbors waving as they strolled by. You know, the American dream, or whatever version of it you buy into when you're 52 and finally on the upswing. Yeah, well, dream is one word for it. Nightmare is what I'd call the first month. The so-called welcome wagon? That was a neatly typed letter taped to my front door a week after I moved in, signed by Linda Marston, HOA president, Queen Bee, enforcer of all things petty. She wanted my mailbox repainted because it wasn't the right shade of beige. Beige. I laughed it off at first. It was just a mailbox. But that was just the opening shot. Within 2 weeks, she'd hit me for my trash bins being visible from the street, then for my grass being a hair too tall, then my hedges. Every other day, a new slip taped to the door. I started feeling like I was on some twisted reality show, neighbors living their lives while I got dinged for things I saw all over the block. I'd joke to my sister over FaceTime, and she'd just tell me to keep my head down, not to make waves. Some people are just like that in HOA's Herald. Yeah, easy for her to say. But when I watched Linda cruise by in her pressed slacks, clipboard glued to her side, making notes every time she saw my truck in the street or my porch light on, I knew this wasn't random. This was targeted. And not a soul around me seemed to care. Not until Janet Ruiz, a neighbor across the street, pulled me aside. She dropped her voice and said, "Linda's particular. If she doesn't like you, she'll find reasons." She wouldn't say more, just glanced at her house like she expected Linda to be listening through the blinds. The real slap in the face came with a $250 fine for having an unapproved decorative item, which turned out to be the American flag my dad gave me, flying on the pole out front. That one stung. My old man served in the Army, and to have someone tell me that flag was a violation, well, let's just say it got personal fast. Next morning, I tried to reason with Linda, standing on my driveway, keeping my voice calm. But she just smiled tight and told me, "We like to make sure new residents start off on the right foot." Right foot, my ass. I wasn't new. I was under the microscope. So, I did what any stubborn, slightly paranoid man would do. I started buying security cameras. Nothing fancy, just a few you could tuck under the eaves or behind the light fixtures. If Linda wanted to watch me, well, I'd return the favor. You know what I mean? The letters didn't stop. They got dumber. Garden hose visible? Please. Porch light too bright. It was the bulb the builder installed. Meanwhile, the real rule breakers, trash bins in plain sight, grass up to your knees, never got so much as a warning. It was just me. The tension started building. Neighbors looked away, waved with stiff smiles, like they didn't want to catch whatever trouble I was in. Then came the Saturday showdown. I'd had enough. Out there trimming my hedges, watching Linda approach, and something just snapped. I called her out in front of the whole block. Neighbors pretending to water plants, a guy washing his car slowing to listen. I listed every dumb citation, from the mailbox to the flag, and asked her why I was the only one getting hit. For the first time, someone spoke up on my behalf. Richard Hanley, lived here a decade, never got a single notice. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Linda tried to shut it down, but I told her straight. I was documenting everything. Suddenly, she didn't look so sure of herself. For 2 weeks after that, nothing. No letters, no knocks. Just quiet, too quiet. I thought maybe calling her out worked, until the rumble of engines woke me up early on a Tuesday. Crew trucks, orange cones, shovels, and there's Linda, directing traffic. Drainage improvements, she told me, Clipboard flashing. Standard perimeter adjustments. Standard, right? Except the trench circled my entire yard, and when I asked if they were really going to block my driveway, she said it was a temporary inconvenience for the greater good. Neighbors gathered again, whispering. I was livid but couldn't stop the work without getting slapped for noncompliance. So I let them dig, all the while snapping photos, cameras rolling, the works. By evening, my home looked like a castle under siege. Deep trench, dirt everywhere, driveway half blocked. That night, I reviewed the footage. There she was, Linda pointing, telling workers exactly where to dig, arms crossed like she was directing an orchestra. She didn't know I'd caught her on camera. That was the twist she didn't see coming. I shared the footage with Janet, then Richard, then quietly with a couple more neighbors. Word spread, first in whispers, then outright. Folks who'd never looked my way started texting, asking to see the video. One by one, they realized it wasn't about rules, it was about control. About Linda. The final straw came at the HOA meeting. I sat right up front, laptop ready. Linda tried to bulldoze the agenda, but Richard stood up and demanded we talk about the trench. I played the video for the room, and you could feel the air change, gasps, whispers, a couple folks muttering about their own random citations over the years. Linda accused me of editing the video to smear her. I told her the cameras don't lie. Some neighbors defended her, others turned on her right there. Afterward, Pauline Sanders came up to me in the parking lot, telling me not to back down. Others were with me, even if they were scared. And she was right. Because what started as a one-man fight was quickly turning into a neighborhood revolt. The footage got out, uploaded to YouTube, shared on Facebook. Next thing I know, a local news crew's knocking on my door. Suddenly, it's not just HOA business, it's city business. Emails fly, the board is in chaos, people are talking lawsuits, and Linda's once iron grip slips. My mailbox fills with support, notes, and a few leave if you don't like it here threats, because, of course, not everyone loves a whistleblower. Then the city council gets involved. I show the footage at a public meeting. It isn't the first complaint they've had about this HOA, they say. My story, my damn trench, might finally push for real reform. I get a standing ovation from half the neighbors who'd barely looked at me a month ago. After that, it was all downhill for Linda. Board members resigned, a petition circulated for her removal, and finally, enough signatures, she was out. A new board took over, promised fairness and transparency, and the very first thing they did was order that stupid trench filled in at HOA expense. That morning, I stood with my coffee, watching the yard return to normal. At my door, hair a mess, eyes tired, and tried to guilt me for turning the community against her. I just told her the truth. She did that all by herself. Now, my house finally feels like home again, willing to shine a light in the right place. So what about you? What would you have done in my shoes? Who was right, who was wrong? Tell me your thoughts below. Share your own story if you've got one.